Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into what seems like a really simple rule.
Yeah, but the promise behind it, according to the sources we looked at, is unlocking some, well, pretty significant life changes.
Right. And we're kicking things off with something many of us, I think, find genuinely tough. Just, getting out of bed.
Oh yeah, that classic battle. The alarm goes off and it's like a whole negotiation starts right there in your head.
Totally. So for this deep dive, we've pulled excerpts from a book focused on something called the hashtag 5 second rule.
Hmm.
And our mission really is to dig into the mechanics. Like, how does this thing actually work?
And why does it seem to work?
Yeah.
Especially for that first hurdle, waking up.
Exactly. And then see how tackling that one small thing might sort of ripple outwards. We're looking for the practical stuff, the insights.
What's interesting in the sources is how straightforward it sounds. The actual rule, the core mechanism.
Yeah, what is it exactly?
It's this.
Hmm.
You have an impulse, an idea, something you know you should do towards a goal, and you immediately count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you physically move. You push yourself.
So it's like cutting off the hesitation, that little window where the doubt creeps in.
Precisely. It's designed to interrupt that loop. You know the one.
Oh, I know it well. And the sources seem to suggest the best way, maybe the fastest way, to really feel this rule work is by taking on what they call the wake-up challenge.
Ah, the dreaded wake-up call. Yeah. And they give you very specific instructions, which I kind of like.
Me too. So the night before, you set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual.
And this is key. You put the alarm clock in another room.
Yes, that setup is definitely part of the strategy. Makes it harder to cheat.
Then, the moment that alarm screams at you,
You start the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
and you physically launch yourself out of bed. No snooze button, no lingering, no just 5 more minutes.
One person quoted Patty, she put it really bluntly, said you have to drag your ass out of bed.
Ah, yeah. It's meant to be tough. It's designed so you feel that resistance and have to consciously push through it.
And that resistance, that seems to be the whole point. The sources give a couple of reasons why starting here is so effective.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, there's basically zero wiggle room. It's just you, the alarm, and the count. If you fail, if you don't get up.
It's a conscious choice. You actively decided not to use the rule. You can't really blame anything else.
Exactly. And that leads to the second big insight from the sources.
What is?
If you can master changing this one thing, your morning routine, you basically prove to yourself you can change anything.
Ah, okay. Because it forces you to act deliberately, even when you absolutely don't feel like it.
Right. If you can beat that feeling when you're tired and warm and cozy, you're building the muscle to do it elsewhere.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It connects to this concept the sources brought up from chemistry, actually. Activation energy.
The chemistry link, I love that kind of cross-disciplinary stuff.
Me too. So in chemistry, activation energy is like the minimum energy needed just to get a reaction started.
Right, the initial spark.
Yeah. And the key thing they found is that this initial energy needed is often way higher than the energy needed to just keep the reaction going.
So starting is the hardest part, but once you're moving, it's easier to maintain.
Exactly. And the psychologist Csikszentmihalyi, famous for his work on flow, he applied this to us, to human behavior.
Okay.
He talked about that initial huge push of energy required to change any habit or just overcome inertia.
Like pushing a stalled car, maybe? Or, yeah, dragging yourself out of a warm bed. Feels monumental at first.
It really does. There was this guy, Jerome, from the Philippines, quoted in the sources. He said it feels uncomfortable, his body and mind aren't ready, but he does it anyway.
That feeling he's describing, that deep resistance.
That is the human version of activation energy. You have to feel it and push through it.
I recognize that feeling. And the sources argue pretty convincingly that if you don't generate that initial push yourself...
Your brain defaults to doing nothing. Staying put,
Yeah.
staying comfortable.
Yeah, like how parents used to just say, go outside and play. They were providing that external push to overcome the kids' inertia.
Exactly. And that's where the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 comes in. According to the source material, it's not just random numbers.
Okay, so what is it doing?
Counting backwards, like that apparently kickstarts a chain reaction. It wakes up your prefrontal cortex.
The decision-making part of the brain. Planning, impulse control, that area.
Right. By focusing on the countdown, you shift away from the emotional, ugh, I don't want to brain.
And engage the executive function, the part that can make a conscious choice.
Exactly. So that mental shift prepares you, it primes you to make that physical push, even though it feels hard.
It's like a mental launch sequence for physical action.
That's a great way to put it. And when you actually do it, when you get up right away, the sources say that gives you personal power.
Like a small win, but a significant one.
Yeah, it's tangible proof of your own inner strength. You can do the hard thing.
And the ripple effect seems pretty real based on the stories. Emma said just getting up gave her a much more positive outlook on the day.
And Tracy used it to get to the gym by 5 a.m., starting the day proactively.
The core idea seems to be, look, if you can't even get out of bed when you intend to, how are you going to tackle bigger goals?
Right. So mastering this first step, taking control of your mornings, isn't just about mornings. It can catalyze a chain of events that leads to change everywhere.
But let's be honest, it's not going to feel easy. The sources definitely acknowledge the resistance. You know, thinking, this is stupid, feeling exhausted.
Wanting to just hit snooze and say, I'll start tomorrow. We've all been there.
So how does the rule help then in that moment of struggle?
Well, that's where it becomes a tool. Tim's experience in the sources mentioned winning the battle with your feelings. It gives you something concrete to do.
Instead of just wrestling with the feeling.
You have a script. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. It's an action sequence to deploy against the feeling.
Right. It counters that pervasive, I just don't feel like it attitude. Jessica, in the sources, points out how that feeling can creep in every day.
And if you let it win, it can hijack your whole day.
Yeah.
One little, I don't feel like it after another.
Definitely. And the downstream effects of just winning that first battle. Well, Stephen's story was pretty compelling.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about Stephen.
He said waking up early with the rule sucked at first, like really sucked. But over time, it made a huge difference.
How so?
He described his mindset literally changed in the span of a few minutes that first morning he forced himself up.
Wow.
And since starting that wake-up challenge, it wasn't just about getting up early. He found a new job, stopped settling for less, started pursuing passions. Basically, he said he started living life.
That's huge. All from changing how he woke up.
Apparently so. For him, it broke the cycle. He said the snooze button, broken, and autopilot no longer exists. It became about taking control, one 5-second decision at a time.
Okay, I can see how that connects. Getting up on time. Starting powerfully. Maybe using that extra time to plan or think before the day hits you.
Yeah, the sources really tie it together. It leads to accomplishing more because you've set a precedent. It's framed as the first step to taking control of your life.
And it's not just about waking up, right? The rule itself is broader.
Absolutely. The wake-up challenge is like the perfect training ground because the resistance is so clear. But the sources stress the rule is change agnostic.
Meaning?
Meaning it works for basically any behavior change you want to make. The only limit is your imagination, really.
And it has that dual function, too, which is interesting.
Right. You can use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to push yourself towards good habits.
Like starting exercise, making a tough call, tackling a project.
Yep. Or you use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to pull yourself away from bad habits or impulses.
Okay, give me examples of that.
The sources mention things like resisting gambling urges, stopping yourself from binge-watching TV, or catching yourself before you snap at someone in frustration.
You count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Assume control. Pause. Shift focus. Walk away.
It sounds so simple. Deceptively simple, maybe.
Well, the sources are clear. Simple isn't the same as easy. It takes practice.
Right. It's a tool, not magic. It helps you make the simple action possible when your brain or body is resisting.
And the sources delve into using it for health, productivity, procrastination, often combining it with other, research-backed strategies.
They even tease a surprising fact about the snooze button's negative impact on productivity specifically. We didn't get deep into that detail here, but it's in there.
But the overarching message, threading through all of the science and the stories they share,
seems to be that reaching your potential, changing your life, it requires pushing yourself. There's no easy way around overcoming inertia.
Yeah, you have to act. And this is presented as a way to bridge the gap between intention and action.
It really comes back to that quote they included, doesn't it? Either you run the day or the day runs you.
Powerful. And if that initial physical jolt of getting out of bed can spark such big changes for people like Stephen,
it makes you think, right? What other small moments of hesitation do we face all day long?
Yeah, those tiny little points where you pause before starting something or making a call or even just putting down your phone.
What if applying that same 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 push in those moments could unlock something? Shift the momentum.
It leaves you wondering, how many 5-second decisions are you not making each day? And how are those tiny non-decisions shaping your life without you even realizing it? Food for thought.